यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी नतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन बल्लवा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन बल्लवा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori. Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Jagatnatha Jagatnatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jagatnatha Jagatnatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Pada Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवाजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत्य श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवाजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत्य श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज शिला प्रभुपाद की जय. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैवं नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Canto 7, Chapter 11, titled The Perfect Society for Social Classes, text number 5, 6, and 7. So we have text number 5 here. So, Shri Narada Uvacha Natva Bhagavate Aja Lokanam Dharma Sitve Vakshaye Sanatanam Dharmam Narayana Mukhacha Chrutam. Shri Narada Uvacha Natva Bhagavate Ajay Lokanam Dharma Setve Vakshe Sanatanam Dharmam Narayana Mukhacha Chritam. Shri Narada Uvacha Natva Bhagavate Ajay लोकानां धर्मासेत्वे वक्ष्ये सनातनं धर्मं नारायणामुखाच् श्रुतम्। श्रीनारद उवाच भगवते अजय लोकानां धर्मसेत्वे वक्ष्ये सनातनं धर्मं नारायणामुखाच्छ्रुतम्। श्रीनारद उवाच नत्वा भगवते अजय लोकानां धर्मसेतवे वक्ष्ये सनातनं धर्मं नारायणामुखाच्छ्रुतम्। श्रीनारद उवाच नत्वा भगवते अजाय लोकानां धर्मसेतवे वक्ष्ये सनातनं धर्मं नारायणामुखाच् श्रुतम्। श्रीनारद उवाच नत्वा भगवते अजाय लोकानां धर्मसेतवे वक्ष्ये सनातनं धर्मं नारायणामुखाच् श्रुतम्। श्रीनारद उवाच नत्वा भगवते अजाय लोकानां धर्मसेतवे वक्ष्ये सनातनं धर्मं नारायणामुखाच् श्रुतम्। Sri Narada Uvacha. Sri Narad Muni said, Natva, offering my obeisances, Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ajay, ever existing, never born, Lokanam, throughout the entire universe, Dharma Setave, who protects religious principles, Vakshaye, I shall explain, Sanatanam, eternal, Dharmam, occupational duty, Narayana Muktat, from the mouth of Narayana, Shrutam, which I have heard. Translations and very short purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Pad ki jai. Sri Narad Muni said, after first offering my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayana. Purport. The word Aja refers to Krishna, who explains in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 6, Ajopim san avayatma. I am ever existing and thus I never take birth. There is no change in my existence. I will read out text number 6 and 7 also. Yovatiriatmano masena dakshayanam tu dharmataha Lokanam swaste adhyaste tapo badarika. Lord Narayana, translation, Lord Narayana, along with his partial manifestation, Nara, appeared in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Badrika Ashrama. Text number 7. Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarva vedamayo hari smritam cha tadvidam rajan yena chatma prasadite. Translation and purport. The Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. Purport. As stated by Yamraj, Dharmam tu Shakshat Bhagavad Pranitam in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter 3, text number 19. Yamraj, the representative of the Lord who takes care of the living being after their death, gives his verdict as to how and when the living being will change his body. He is the authority, and he says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. No one can manufacture religion, and therefore manufactured religious systems are rejected by the followers of Vedic principles. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text number 15, it is said, Vedaischa sarver aham eva vedayaha. Vedic knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, whether one speaks of the Vedas, scriptures, religion, or the principles of everyone's occupational duty, all of them must aim at understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 6, therefore concludes, Save pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshade ahekuti apritihata yayatma suparasidati. In other words, religious principles aim at learning how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. That service must be unmotivated and unchecked by material conditions. Then human society will be happy in all respects. The Smriti, the scriptures following the principles of Vedic knowledge, are considered the evidence of Vedic principles. There are 20 different types of scriptures for following religious principles. And among them, the scriptures of Manu and Yagyavalkya are considered to be all pervading authorities. In Yagyavalkya Smriti, it is said, Shruti Smriti Sadachara Swasya Cha Priyam Atmana Samyak Sankalapajya Kamo Dharma Mulam Idam Smritam. One should learn human behavior from Shruti, the Vedas, and from Smriti, the scriptures following the Vedic principles. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidham Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpattaya Vaya Kalpate. The purport is that to become a devotee, one must follow the principles laid down in Shruti and Smriti. One must follow the codes of the Puranas and the Pancharatrika Vidhi. One cannot be a pure devotee without following the Shruti and Smriti. And the Shruti and Smriti without devotional service cannot lead one to the perfection of life. Therefore, from all the evidence, the conclusion is that without bhakti, devotional service, there is no question of religious principles. God is the central figure in the performance of religious principles. Almost everything going on in this world as religion is devoid of any idea of devotional service and is therefore condemned by the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without devotional service, so-called religious principles are only cheating. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, Prabhupada has been very, very straight and bold in whatever he did. And it is proved again and again that he never tried to compromise or contaminate the message which he wanted to convey. And here in this text also Prabhupada says very clearly that without devotional service, so-called religious principles are only cheating. So I'm just emphasizing this point first. We will of course discuss rest of the text also. But so much is going on in name of religion all over the world. There are so many religious organizations, societies, religious leaders. They are all going around and preaching different type of messages. But Prabhupada says, until and unless there is bhakti in any religion, devotional service, that is nothing but cheating. So in International Society for Krishna Consciousness, a lot of emphasis is given on bhakti. We have to learn how to serve their lordships and gradually uplift our consciousness. So I'd like to discuss a couple of things from these verses. One is about Shruti and Smriti. So does everybody know what Shruti and Smriti are? You know? Yeah. So Shruti are basically Vedas which are written in the form of shlokas, and they are recited that way in particular meters. So when they are the sages, they would recite Shrutis to their disciples and other devotees, and based on their own realizations and from their memories, they will write it. So it is said that Shruti can never change. Shruti will always be the same. Whereas Smritis can change depending from time to time, also depending on the realizations of the sages or the acharyas who are talking about them. Then the other point which I noticed is that, and Prabhupada talks about it also in some of his lectures, is about Paramhansa. So Prabhupada says that who is a Paramhansa? We often, when we are paying our obeisances and chanting Prabhupada's mantra, we say Paramhansa. When we do that same for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we say Paramhansa. So Prabhupada explains that Paramhansa is one who never wastes even a single minute in all mundane discussions. They are always thinking of Krishna, they are always talking about Krishna, and they are always engaged in service to Krishna. We also, normal, how this word came from. So Hansa, swans are the birds which have very, very special skill. So if you give them milk and water mixed, they would be able to just separate milk and water. They will only drink milk and water will remain in the pot. So same way, Paramahansas are the devotees who are very, very intelligently able to distinguish between what is the right message and what is the wrong message. What is the right way of communicating to their disciples, what is the message to be communicated, and what should be avoided. So, in Nectar of Instruction, text number 2, also Srila Rupa Goswami is talking about 6 impediments which are detrimental for the devotional service. Or yes, and one of them is prajalpa, which is engaging oneself in mundane discussions. So, number of times, or most of the times actually, when we meet each other, when we either in the temple or socially or somewhere else, we just say Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, and after that we are engaging ourselves in, oh, it's so cold today, tomorrow it is going to be even colder, and so on, or all kind of such talks. So Prabhupada says that all these kind of talks are nothing but assembly of crows. He uses this particular word, that if a discussion is taking place on topics other than about Krishna, it is nothing but an assembly of crows. So we have to be extremely careful where we belong. Then here in this particular text, first one, and when Yudhishthir and Narad, they are engaged in this conversation, and Yudhishthir has got this opportunity to talk to Narad, and he's not losing any time. He's always asking questions and questions so that he can know more about the Lord, he can know more about his pastimes, he can know more about his nature, he can know more about the nature of the devotees, and so on. So that is how a good devotee of the Lord uses his time. He is always inquisitive, and if he is getting an opportunity to come in contact with an elevated soul, he is always wanting to gain and learn something from him. And interesting thing which we read here is we all know that Narad is such a great personality. But even when he is asked a question and he is going to explain or give the details to Yudhishthir, he says, after first offering my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayana. So the details and religious principles are very, very complex things to understand. And we can understand them only by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or our acharyas in the disciplic succession. So even Narad, he is such a knowledgeable person, he first pays obeisances to the Lord before he starts to give an answer to Yudhishthir. So it is important to understand that only, as I said earlier, that only by mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead and our acharyas in the disciplic succession, we can understand these matters. So we have to pay them the respect which is due. If we are attempting to learn something, the first and foremost thing is to pay respect to your spiritual master and the acharyas in disciplic succession. Then it is very interesting now. It is getting really interesting in text number 7, where I'll read out the translation one more time. The Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. So, what is the purpose of Vedic literature? We have so much of literature available to us. Prabhupada wrote so many books and he has so many instructions for us. And in addition to that, also there is so much of Vedic literature available written by our acharyas in disciplic succession. So, what is the purpose of Vedic literature? Yes. Yes. The purpose is how can we develop love for Krishna? How can we uplift our consciousness? We hear different sannyasis when they are in town. We attend the classes, we attend the kirtan, we honor prasadam. The purpose of doing all these activities is to elevate our consciousness, to purify our consciousness, because we are so contaminated by virtue of being in this material world, not only in this lifetime, but even in previous, we don't know how many thousands of lifetime. We have been so, our thoughts, our heart has been so contaminated that a purification process is very, very important. And that can be done by hearing and listening and chanting the holy name of the Lord. But instead of doing that, what is a human being looking for in scriptures? Most of the karmis are looking for some kind of happiness in reading the scriptures. So, Prabhupada explains that what is meant here by happiness. This is nothing but satisfying our senses. So that is the meaning of happiness in this Kali Yuga is just sense gratification. So we are all engaging our energies, our time, our intelligence in our sense gratification program. And you can say a byproduct of that is running after material possessions. So I was talking about second verse of Nectar of Instruction. So there, the other impediment which Srila Rupa Goswami talks about is prayasa. So prayasa is unnecessary endeavor. So we are so much attracted by material possessions, and we want to get more and more and more. Even though we have sufficient for ourselves, we are still looking for more. And to get that more, we are, as Prabhupada says, we work like donkeys. And as a result, we have no time for thinking of Krishna or working something for our consciousness. I was recently talking to a friend of mine who is an economist. So I was generally asking him that how is the economy of India doing and, world economy, because he's a big economist. So he gave me a detailed explanation. I just said to ask, I thought the answer will be very brief, but he spoke for a long time. So then I asked him a question. I said, I have always wanted to ask you this question. He's my age. We went to college together. So we are exactly the same age. So I said, I always wanted to ask you this question. And I said, you are one economist in this organization. And there may be at least 50 to 100 economists here. He said, yes. And I said, there will be hundreds of such organizations all over the world who are, people are working, with such dedication and sincerity to make this planet worth living and make this planet a good place. He said, yeah, sure. Yeah, we are doing all that. I said, then this place should have been heaven by now, because I know you have been working for at least last 35, 40 years, and similarly all your other colleagues have been working, and before you started working, others were working. But even then, instead of becoming better, the things are going from bad to worse. So why is it happening like that? And he tried to again give me some economics, theory. But then I explained to him that if all this is happening because we have forgotten Krishna. We have forgotten the message of Krishna. We have forgotten the message conveyed to us through acharyas. The original message of Krishna conveyed to us through acharyas. And then I talked to him about Ishopanishad verses. See, our scriptures very clearly say that Krishna is the original proprietor of all that which exists. And we are expected to use what is our need and not accumulate much more than what we need. Because we are only by your efforts, I'm talking to him, by their efforts and their negotiations with different countries, negotiation between different organizations and so on, what we are trying to do, how can I get more, how can my country get more, and we are looking for more and more, and so long we are working with that motivation, there is never going to be any happiness, because the message is very clear that Prabhupada says, if we forget Krishna, if Krishna is not in the center, then it is not really going to work. And not only it is not going to work, it can never bring any happiness or peace in this world. So I gave him the example also. I said, now you have kids, and you always say that, I do not get time to spend with my kids. So he said, yes. So I said, then our parents had a lot of time for us. He says, yes, that's true. So I said, so please don't tell me that they were not happy or we were not happy at that time. Weren't we more happy? So as Kali Yuga is progressing, and I'm just talking of maybe last 45 to 50 years, we see that the things are becoming going from bad to worse. And the reason, in my opinion, is that because people are they are forgetting Krishna, they are becoming very, very self-centered and very, very selfish. So that is what causes a lot of, you can say, disharmony in the society, and none of us are happy. We are in so much of anxiety, and we don't know what is the reason. So Prabhupada took this mission just to make sure that people know Krishna, who Krishna is, and what his messages are. And if we sincerely make efforts to read Srila Prabhupada's teachings, it is going to make our life very easy. It's going to make our life very peaceful, and it is going to bring us happiness, for which we are running here and there throughout the day. So we have to pay some attention to these things, and then work on it. When we are reading the purport here for text number 7, there is also a mention about dharma and cheating. So what is dharma? Pure dharma or dharma. So dharma is to develop love for Krishna. That is the eventual, or you can say the ultimate destination for us. It also says that dharma is something which will motivate us to render transcendental service to the Lord. It is mentioned here. Religious principles aim at learning how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. So what do we understand by service? So service is basically the activities in which we engage for the pleasure of somebody else. Now, if I am engaged in some service to you, then I have to make sure that you are happy with those service. Correct? Then only it is successful. If I am engaging in those services for my personal happiness or personal gratification, then that is not service. Then that is my personal agenda. So, and most of the time, we are in the name of service, we are doing things for our own pleasure, for our own gratification, for our own satisfaction. So the purpose is defeated because we are coming to the temple and we think that we are coming here to please Krishna, but even as a matter of fact, we are doing that because we feel that if I come to the temple, the Lord will be happy and Lord will provide me so much of wealth, so much of this and so much of that. So we are coming here in the temple with our personal agenda, and as a result, obviously, we are not able to make any progress in our devotional life. Then one more point I wanted to talk about was the spirit of sacrifice. When we are talking about service, when we are talking about making progress in devotional life, we have to work with the spirit of sacrifice. And if you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, his life was full of sacrifices. We read that when Prabhupada came to United States 50 years, little more than 50 years ago, it was not very easy for him. He had to undergo a lot of severe difficulties. He had health issues, he had financial issues. When he arrived here in this country, he practically did not know anybody as such except one family where he first stayed for some weeks before he moved out and started preaching. So this is a very great example of sacrifice, that only by in that mood of sacrifice one can really do something great for the humanity in general. Because his motive was not something personal, he didn't have a personal agenda. His only expectation was that people should know who Krishna is, they should be able to understand, and they should be able to know what Yuga Dharma is and follow that. And he really made it very simple for people. Prabhupada talks about in one of his classes about when he was talking about intoxication. And he says that when he came here, the drug addiction was on its peak. Even now, I think it is not, it's not that it is totally eradicated, but at that time, most of the youngsters were rebels and they were engaged in addiction, intoxication. So Prabhupada says that the government of the country was investing a lot of money so that the youngsters will get away from the drugs. But they were not successful at all. And he says anybody who came in contact with Srila Prabhupada gave up whatever Prabhupada asked them to give up. So, for example, when we talk of the 4 regulative principles, it is no, 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 no. 4 no's, correct? No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling. So when we are talking of that, and Prabhupada was so successful, he said, I will not compromise on these 4 regulative principles. So he was so successful, and he says, why was he so successful? Because he offered them something in exchange which was more precious, which was more meaningful, which people saw some value in it. When the government was trying to invest money and tell people, oh, get away from drugs and so on, they were not offering any alternative. When Prabhupada asked people to give up intoxication or give up illicit sex, etc., he offered them something, he offered them an alternative which was so valuable. And people embraced it so happily. And we see that yesterday I was talking to one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and most of them were born in mid-40s or early 50s. And they have been, even after Prabhupada's departure, they still are continuing with practicing the values which Prabhupada imbibed in them. So if we follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, which are very clearly explained here, and he makes it very simple. I'm repeating it because number of times when we hear some preachers from some other programs, it's very, very complex to understand what they are saying. But fortunately for us, Prabhupada has made our life very easy and simple by just asking us to follow very basic things. Follow 4 regulatory principles, chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and render service if you can. So by doing this, we can surely make progress in our devotional life. We can uplift our consciousness. We can develop love for Krishna, which is the aim of all or any religious activity. So I'll stop here and invite discussion, comments, questions. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hello. Is this on right? Thank you for your class. You were mentioning that we have Krishna consciousness, and when we come to the temple, we have personal agenda consciousness. So my comment and question is related to that point. That reminds me of one point that somebody said. I really appreciate it. He says, whatever a person is most devoted to, that's his religion. And we usually have our personal agenda consciousness. And also one thing I appreciated, one other person said that he said that related to this point, God is supposed to be on the throne all the time, like Kishore. But then we'll ask Kishore to get off the throne, then we'll put our own personal agenda on the throne and then worship it. Or not only that, in the material world, we kind of worship our circumstances or what somebody said to us. If somebody insults us, we perform arti, we talk about it all the time, or things don't go our way. And so we can see that this obstructs our remembrance of Krishna, which is the whole point of spiritual life. So my question is basically related to this point, is that in my own spiritual life, I'm sure other people can relate to it in the past, is that my religion was, one aspect of my main religion was complaining. Basically, it's basically ingratitude, like, when the speaker would speak, it doesn't matter which Maharaj would speak, I'd be like, oh my God, this class is so boring. I thought, religious principles were supposed to be fun, joyfully performed. And then I realized, this is boring. Or I remember when my brother would give class or be in the audience asking like a million questions and giving his commentary. I'm like, oh my God, why is he staying the class? It's so boring. And I would just make all these types of offenses. And I really didn't realize why I wasn't getting any taste in Christian consciousness. So that was my religion. And one thing I appreciated about when all the devotees had the opportunity to give class, we have a different perspective. Like one time, I'll just give the answers, then I'll ask my question. One time, Dr. Jordan was sleeping in class. I'll say it now since he's gone, so he can't, condemn me. He's gone for 6
He'll be
months.
back.
Yeah, he'll be back. but actually, I asked him. He was holding his head down. I can't criticize him because I did the same thing, like I said, throughout the years. I'm like, you should show a little bit more respect to the speaker by at least, acting like your interest, hold your head up. He was holding his head down. Of course, he got upset. But then when he had to give class, he gave a nice class actually. But then later on, he told me, you were right. It kind of does suck when people act like they're not interested in the class. So my question is, how does one develop this appreciation and gratitude for, or give up this religion of complaining about everything, complaining about devotees asking too many questions, complaining about, the speaker being so boring. And then we realized, why are we not getting a taste? So how does one develop or give up, abandon this religion of complaining, the one aspect? We have so many other religions. So what are some steps we could do?
So, one of the very easy and good thing to start is try to place yourself in the shoes of other person, because you answered that yourself, and that is really helpful, because in Kali Yuga we are really very very critical of others. Fault finding is a very very, you can say, comes natural to everybody. We specialize in fault finding, and if there is no fault finding, then there is no spice in life. So if we try to place ourselves in shoes of others, we'll be perhaps able to appreciate what the other person is doing, how hard it is for him to execute certain services. For example, you may be cooking, for example, and I can say, oh, the cooks do not really know anything. The food, the prasadam is not tasty at all, and I can give so many arguments about it. And then if I have to cook, my wife is not here, by the way, these days. So sometimes I would like to cook, and then I know how difficult it is. I try to do that because I feel it's a learning experience for me, and I'm able to appreciate the services which she had been doing, and I was taking them for granted. So this happens in our life wherever we are. In most of the relationships, we take things for granted without appreciating the efforts the other person is putting in. So if we develop that mood, that we try to look at the things with perspective of other people also, then this tendency will gradually reduce. We try to see the efforts, the labor, intelligence, all this which goes into doing things, we just take that for granted. So that is one place where I would like to start. I would say that. The other thing is that we feel it is our pride and our false ego which is also makes us, criticize, be critical of others very easily. If there was some, Nityan Prabhu was giving class one time, and he was saying that if I did some particular service or I did something and nobody appreciated it, I will feel bad. But I will feel very bad if somebody else get praised. So, so that is the kind of tendency we have. So we have to see that whatever I am doing, I am not doing it to get some appreciation. I am doing it as a service. And when you are doing it as a service for pleasure of Kishore Kishori, then if Kishore Kishori are pleased, that is it for me. I don't really need any appreciation for that. My endeavor or my efforts are, you can say, successful if the object of my service is happy. So one doesn't really have to, you can say, fish for compliments. Yeah.
Thank you. Just one last point that I mentioned about Jordan. I'm glad you mentioned a point about putting yourself in the other people's shoes. So it wasn't just Jordan who gave class. All the devotees, new devotees, gave class like at least once or twice, and they all said the same thing. They said, when they gave class, they were like, maybe should I stop because it looks like you guys are not interested in class. So so they got that personal experience, and that maybe helped them to treat this whatever speaker is with more enthusiasm. And that's why I think
Yeah.
devotees should give opportunity to give class because then you'll know how the speaker feels. So
Yeah,
anyway,
thank
thank
you.
you.
I would also like to say, in different aspects, whether it is the temple environment or other environment in the offices or elsewhere, sometimes I recommend, or it is recommended, that people are rotated on different jobs. So if I'm doing something today, I'm not really able to appreciate the efforts which other people are putting. But if by rotation I get to see, I get to do what you are doing, then I'll be able to appreciate what it involves. So working by rotation, doing things by rotation will also be helpful, and it will help us to appreciate the efforts which other people are putting in to execute that service. Sual Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Actually, just because you asked me, I was just appreciating in text number 7 when in the verse it says that these religion's principles are the proof, or what is exactly said that is the see. They're to be understood. O King Yudhisthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So, in general, we hear that the best evidence is the scriptures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Narada Muni is equating the real principles of religion, or the param dharma, with also the actual evidence. So there's sort of a correlationship between the principles of religion and the revealed scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
And also saying that the base of evidence is Srimad Bhagavatam, as per Srila Jiva Goswami.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the actual understanding of the principles of religion, or the best evidence, or the best way to get in touch with these principles of religion seems to be this correlationship with Srimad Bhagavatam, like that.
Yeah. When I was reading about Shruti and Smriti, this topic came because, as I said, Shruti is the shlokas or the texts which are there and they cannot change, but Smritis are also the same message but conveyed in different words, but that can change according to the time at which it is being spoken. But Smritis will always support what is there in the scripture. So those Shrutis will be always supporting what is there in Vedas. So Vedas are the original source of knowledge, but Smritis will always be supporting the message in Vedas. So when here there are a number of places where Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas are talking about what you just tried to explain, that the ultimate religion is the message of Krishna. Whatever Krishna says is the religion. And not only that, when we go to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that leave everything and come unto me, take my shelter. So that is the ultimate religion which we have. And our scriptures, like you said, Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures, they are confirming that the ultimate goal of life is to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Also, remember from the verse Raja Guhyan, Raja Vidyan, Prataksha Bhagavan Dharmyam, no? That is the perfection of religion, because it gives direct perception, the direct experience of self-realization. So it's the perfection of religion. this knowledge of devotional service that in that verse is described, Prataksha Bhagavan Dharmyam. And then they give happiness, Susukam Kartunabhyayam. So it's very wonderful how the theme, gets reframed in so many different ways through the Bhagavatam, because it started with the sages of Namisharanya asking almost similar questions, right, to Srila Sutta Goswami, like Maharaj Yudhisthira is asking to Narada Muni, in terms of if he can explain, the organization, the principles of religion for people in general to be happy. And the answer is very similar. Srila Sutta Goswami says it's Savai Pusam Parodharmo. And Narada Muni in text number 7 is saying that Krishna is the essence of all religious principles, like that, and it's a root of all religious principles, and that's the real evidence, So and that will give happiness. So there's no going around the bushes.
Yes.
It's like
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Mataji wants to say, would you like to add something? Okay, Jai Baldev Prabhu has a question.
You mentioned that a Paramahamsa, like the one thing he always talks about Krishna, he doesn't speak Prajapa. And this kind of remind me of a funny point. Maybe you could elaborate on it, or some discrepancies some people may, some offenses people may commit. Like, for example, if you're at your work and your boss wants to maybe talk some mundane subject matter, only talk about Krishna, like you're fired. I'm not. That's more of a joking way, but in regards to like preaching to others, sometimes what is the boundaries one can have? Because sometimes people are not going to listen to you unless they feel that you're a friend, they trust you, and they may want to talk some mundane subject matter that you're familiar with too, because we all grew up on popular culture. We hear the news sometimes, or this and that. We're not totally oblivious. And yeah, we speak about Krishna, but at what point, does it become fanatical? Because in the introduction to Gita, Prabhupada mentions the point that sometimes a woman or a guy may have an affair, and they're doing everything perfectly in front of their spouse, but in their consciousness, they're thinking about their lover. And when we're in a material world, we have, we may talk externally mundane subject matters at our work, or, have to. But my question is regards to when we're preaching to others, at what point does it become like fanatical, like, don't talk about, we try to instruct them, don't talk about mundane stuff, because this happened in the beginning to us, don't talk about this, just talk about Krishna. And what, is that not good, or can you elaborate on that point a little bit?
See, how I understand is that in this world, we are surrounded by people who are involved in all kind of activities and all kind of discussions. But our endeavor should be that whatever we are doing, whatever we are engaging in, is in service to Krishna. So even if you are working in some organization which is not a religious organization, which may not have anything to do with ISKCON or Krishna as such, but I, as an individual, can engage in the activities, and I can always be thinking that this is my service to Krishna. So if at the back of my, I see Krishna's hand in whatever I am doing. So if I work with that kind of consciousness, then it is better than the consciousness where I am only thinking of how can I have my personal material gains. The other thing which I have heard is there are two words: insulation and isolation. So we don't have to isolate ourselves, because, like you said, then people will think who you are, what's wrong with you, and so on. But we can insulate ourselves from all those activities or those discussions. there is a incident which was narrated by one of our speakers here, which I would like to share with you, which is very, very relevant and very important. Now, this person who explained, he says, I used to work in an office, and when you work in an office, you get invited by your colleagues for birthdays, for anniversaries, or something. This person is a devotee. He will not eat outside or drink anything outside. So, and everybody in the office knew that we cannot offer him a piece of cake or cookies or anything in the office. He will not have it. But because of the protocol, an invitation is going, so he also used to get invited. And there was one such invitation, and he went there. And the host was not really expecting him to come. And the host said that, why have you come? You're not going to eat anything, you're not going to drink anything. Why have you come? So he said, I have come to see you. Because you invited me for, and it is a happy occasion. So I just came to, join you in your celebrations. I have not come here to drink. I have not come here to, eat what you are offering. I feel, obliged, and I feel very happy that I'm part of your happiness. So and he was quite surprised. He was rather shocked that somebody drove 25 or 30 miles and just came to be with us for a short period. But at the same time, he developed a lot of respect for that person. So this is how a devotee acts, actually. There was another incident which Romapad Maharaj explains, narrates sometimes, that there was a devotee working in a university in New York, and very efficient, very good in work and everything. So, but the environment in the office is not of Krishna consciousness. So she does her work very nicely and everything. So once her boss gave some work to different, her and her colleagues, and which was to be finished in a particular period of time. And this person finished them in half the time and went to the boss and says, look, I have finished my work and kindly have a look at it and if it is good. And the boss was really shocked that in half the time she could produce such quality work which others will not be able to do even in the time which is allocated to them. So he said, how did you do this? And she says, you won't believe if I tell you. He says, no, 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 I want to know. And then she told him about Krishna. And he listened. The important thing is that he listened. So that is how, we have to be humble. We know that the environment around us is not always very conducive. Sometimes it is very, very hostile. But that is part of life. I mean, that's where, the life of Srila Prabhupada is such a great example for us. That when he left, he was entering United States, which is for all practical purposes, the most, materially engaged society. So he entered here, he knew that he is going to, unknown territories and things are not going to be very, very friendly. But still, being a devotee of the Lord, he took that responsibility, he took that challenge, and he was able to convey all those people who till a day before were so much involved in sense gratification that they have to give up all that in order to be happy in life. Okay? Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. was in Delhi. When I was in Delhi, I went to Vrindavan for a day. Then I went to another country, Burma. Have you heard of Burma? Myanmar now, yes. There for about a week. I went to, I didn't go to, I went to Vrindavan.